Just a little over a month ago, my friend unexpectedly called me early in the morning on the day of his wedding. He'd been in a car accident. Another driver had run a stop sign. He assured me that everyone was okay, but then he handed the phone to my daughter Ella, who was with him. The moment she heard my voice, she broke into tears. By then, I'd already started getting help. But that phone call, hearing Ella's voice, it was like a mirror. It showed me how far from reality I'd actually been, that no amount of money, no plan, nothing I could have left behind would have put me on the other end of that call. It confirmed that the work I'd started was the right work, was the right step, that being present and actually being here was the only thing that mattered. Now, to explain how I got to that place, we've got to go back. My health had really deteriorated. I started having these recurring dreams where I died, and I had visions of people at my funeral. Morbid, I know. But my weight had climbed to nearly 300 pounds. I was being treated for sleep apnea, high blood pressure, and pre-diabetes. I could barely bend over to tie my shoes because my gut was big, and I had to hold my breath just to do it. Around the same time, I was rear-ended in a car accident. And 10 days later, they found blood clots in my right leg and 2 pulmonary emboli in my lungs. The doctors put me on a blood thinner and sent me home with a ticking time bomb in my chest and basically said, "Good luck, champ, don't die." Now, I needed to change. I knew it, and I couldn't. Here's what's really happening underneath all of that: shame. Weight has always been a source of shame and struggle for me. I often joke that my mom had to special order my underwear out of the Sears catalog because they didn't sell husky size in the store. It's actually not a joke, it's true. I lost weight before and gained it back during COVID, and I didn't want people to judge me. I mean, truthfully, I was judging myself more harshly than they would. But I stopped showing up. I stopped posting on social media. I stopped connecting with people. I stopped reaching out. I went quiet. And the quieter I got, the more isolated I became. And the more isolated I became, the more the shame grew. It fed itself. Shame can eat away at you like a spiritual cancer. It can steal your joy. It can put you in a funk. My shame caused me to lose my light. It cost me my marriage, for which I carried enormous guilt. As a man, as a father, and as a former pastor, I felt like a failure, like I should have known better, like I'd let everyone down. I didn't tell anyone how I was really doing because I couldn't stand the thought of being seen as someone who didn't have it all together. I left a job I'd had for years. I didn't realize until later that leaving it cost me something. It cost me something I genuinely loved, the ability to help people, to communicate, to connect. I'd lost a piece of my calling. And I was ashamed of that too. Ashamed that I hadn't found a way to fill it. Ashamed that I was struggling in ways I couldn't even name. And then I was in a new job, and my pain was bleeding into everything around me. People felt like they were walking on eggshells, not knowing if or when I would snap. Have you ever found yourself in a position where you knew that you weren't yourself, but then you felt powerless to do anything about it? Or that you thought you couldn't explain why? So if you can't explain why, then how can you expect anybody else to understand? So you just say nothing. I knew I wasn't myself, but I couldn't ask for help. Because asking for help meant admitting that I wasn't okay. And I'd built my entire identity around being the person who was okay, the person who was steady in the chaos. I'd always been the one who could help people make sense of the disorder in their lives. But there I was, unable to make sense of my own. See, that's what shame does. It doesn't announce itself, it just quietly closes doors one by one. It tells you that you can't let people see who you really are. It tells you that you're the problem, that you're no good, that people will abandon you if only they knew the truth, and that the solution is really to hide. So you hide, and you keep hiding, until one day you look around and you realize you're entirely alone, and you built the walls yourself. I cut myself off from all of my support networks. I tried to fake it, kept putting my head down, powering through, hoping it would blow over. But then I began having thoughts that I was better off dead than alive. I didn't have any remaining close relationships because I pushed everyone away. I thought that if I had died, most people would just, maybe some would be sad, but they just go about living their regular lives. Except for my kids. I didn't want to hurt them. And they were quite literally the only reason I was hanging on. But then I told myself my kids would be okay. I had a life insurance policy. I even double-checked it to ensure that it would pay out. See, I had convinced myself that was rational, that I could take care of them that way, that I could provide for them better in death than I probably could as a sad, depressed man in life. So I made a plan. I set a date right after my friend's wedding, which I was officiating, by the way. That was the last thing required of me, the last future commitment I needed to fulfill. I want you to hear that. A man with faith, with friends, with a career, with 2 amazingly beautiful kids, got to that place. Shame and silence can and will take you there. A few things changed. Not one dramatic moment, just a few hard, humble steps. I started paying more attention to my health, knowing that a healthy body can influence a healthy mind. One particular evening at work, I snapped at a coworker. It was so unlike me and uncharacteristic, and I was so disgusted with myself that I reached out to a therapist immediately for an appointment, and have been going ever since. I called my doctor because I knew my medication wasn't working, and then I called a friend at church and asked if I could come back and play guitar. Music's always been a healing source for me. I just needed a reason to show up somewhere, a reason to pick up my guitar every week and practice, to reconnect to something I loved. I went to people at work, people I'd been short with, and I apologized. I admitted some of the things I was struggling with, not as an excuse, but as an explanation. And I asked for their forgiveness. 5 steps, none of them particularly dramatic, but all of them painfully honest. So back to the phone call. Friend called me on his wedding morning, car accident, everyone okay? I heard an indescribable relief in Ella's voice as she expressed her tears. My friend asked me to meet them at an urgent care clinic where they were being checked out. As I walked toward the entrance, Ella walked out to greet me. Now, Ella isn't normally a hugger, but as we met, she hugged me for what seemed like a minute. And I'm pretty sure that I needed that hug just as much as she did. No life insurance policy, nothing I could have left behind, nothing would have put me on the other end of that call or that hug. And I almost wasn't here for it. So yesterday, Ella and I were sitting in the car after her orthodontist appointment. I hadn't really planned to bring any of this up with her, but the topic of me making this video came up, and eventually we started talking about what I was going to share. I told her that I wanted her to know the truth, not because I wanted to scare her, and not because I'm still in that place, but because so many men are buried under shame and silence. And I feel like part of my healing is telling the truth out loud. I also told her that many people carry pain quietly, and sometimes what goes unspoken gets passed down. And I wanted something different for her. I wanted her to know that if she ever feels overwhelmed, ashamed, depressed, or afraid of what's going on inside her own mind, she can talk to me. I hope she never feels what I felt, but if she ever does, I want her to know that I'm a safe place. Then we talked about the hug at the urgent care clinic. I told her that I noticed how long she held on and that I figured she must have really needed that hug. And then she interrupted me and she said, "That's interesting because I felt like something was telling me that I needed to hug you." That really hit me. Because it was in that moment, we both realized something had been happening that neither of us fully understood at the time. I thought I was showing up for her, but somehow God was showing up for the both of us. She needed her dad to be there, and I needed to know I still needed to be here. The hug was healing for both of us for very different reasons. I don't want to over-explain that. I just know that sometimes grace does not come as an answer. Sometimes it comes as a nudge, a phone call, a conversation in a parked car, a daughter holding on a little longer than usual. And sometimes you don't realize until later that God was working on both sides of the same moment. I've shared my struggle with mental health with a few folks over the years. I've always struggled with anxiety. I've experienced panic attacks. I've often straddled the fence between the light and the dark, wanting to live with hope and optimism while simultaneously being restrained by a constant dull sadness that always lives under the surface. Somebody once shared with me that they were made to feel like a lesser Christian for being on medication for their mental health. All it takes is laying it at God's feet, having a little more faith and trust, and then you add a little sprinkle of prayer, as if there's this perfect recipe for overcoming any of life's woes. But brain chemistry is real. Mental health is not a spiritual failure. Let me say that again. Mental health is not a spiritual failure. God heals through people, through the right therapist, the right doctor, the right friend who picks up the phone. Seeking help does not make you a lesser person. It does not make you a lesser Christian. In fact, it makes you uniquely honest, vulnerable, and brave. The Bible even talks about how God's grace is sufficient for us and that God's power is made perfect in our weakness. I love the depth of this verse. God expects us to struggle. We're too weak to overcome the worst that life has to throw at us. And God meets us at the intersection where hope and despair collide with the kind of grace that says, I got you. You don't have to do this alone. Now hang on and watch me work. These last couple years have cost me dearly. I won't pretend otherwise. But I want to tell you what I found on the other side of that cost, because this is the part I couldn't see when I was at the bottom. I have my integrity back. For a long time, I was carrying things privately, living in ways that didn't reflect who I actually wanted to be. Secrets that were eating me alive from the inside. The losses I've experienced, as painful as they've been, have allowed me to become one person again, to stop hiding, to give my whole self to God and to others. There's such a peace in feeling like you don't have to hide who you are and being your whole self again. There's peace in acknowledging the weakness to the people who love you and support you and who are invested in your well-being. I have hope again. That might sound cheesy, and it might sound like a small thing, but it isn't. When you're at the end of your rope, you can't see a future. You stop making plans. You stop imagining what next year looks like, because somewhere inside, you don't believe you'll be here for it. Being able to see a future again, to want one, that's not a small thing. That's everything. And I have joy again, real joy. I found it in the way I've always found it, in music, in people, in purpose, and in presence, by courageously showing up for the people who need me. Music has always been a healing influence on me, but I lost my spark and hadn't been able to write a song for years, until last week. Last Sunday, I stood in front of the church and led a worship song that I wrote. It's called Don't Waste This. It's a song that looks at suffering in a unique way. How often do we ask God to rescue us from our pain and suffering? What if instead, though, we look to God almost defiantly, and we ask God not to waste our suffering, but to use it to form us into something greater and stronger for our next seasons of life? I don't think God causes suffering, but God can use it. We don't have to waste it. We can find greater purpose in it. I almost wasn't here to write that song, and I almost wasn't here to share it. The song is my testimony, and so is this video. I suffered in silence for way too long. I've said some vulnerable and embarrassing things here, and I'm putting it out there for all the world, my family, my coworkers, the world. I'm sharing this story because I don't want to waste my suffering, even if it's suffering that I brought on myself. June is Men's Mental Health Awareness Month, and I want men to know that they don't have to suffer in silence. If you're carrying something heavy right now, alone, telling yourself, I'm fine, I'm talking to you. If you've convinced yourself that nobody will listen or nobody will care about your problems, I'm talking to you. If you've bent yourself into a pretzel trying to be the perfect provider, protector, or parent, or pillar in the community, and the stress is getting to you, I'm talking to you. If you think that being a real man means just sucking it up and to stop being a wuss and deal with it like men from past generations did, I'm talking to you too. And if you're tired of living or your life is a mess right now and you're doing all you can just to put one foot in front of the other, I'm talking to you too. Reach out to somebody, not someday, today. The first step is often the hardest step to take. Contact a friend you trust, a therapist, a doctor. Tell somebody the truth about how you're actually doing. Let somebody help you carry your burdens when they feel bigger than you can bear, because somebody needs you. And you don't have to be defined by who you are in your lowest moments. Don't let shame be the cancer that steals your life's purpose. You can find joy again. You can find hope again. Take it from me, you may have to do all that you can just to survive today so you can thrive tomorrow. Survive, then thrive. If you have a man in your life that you're worried about, don't just ask how he's doing. Ask him and mean it. Give him your undivided attention and give him the space and the grace to be honest. If there's somebody in your life who might benefit from watching this video, may I ask that you please share it? And if you're in crisis right now, text or call 988. Someone will answer. Men's Mental Health Month exists because we need it, because the silence is killing us. It quite literally almost killed me. Do not waste this. Whatever you're going through, don't waste it. I promise you that brighter days are ahead.
Let these scars not be wasted. Let these tears not fall in vain. Hold us when we're breaking. Never leave us the same. Form us in the waiting. Make us who we're meant to be. Until the heart of Jesus is all the world can see. And God, don't waste this. God, don't waste this. And God, don't waste this. This waiting for the light. God, don't waste this. This season of our lives. And God, don't waste this. This waiting for the light. God, don't waste this season of our lives. And meet us in the mystery. You shape us through the night as we walk this valley.